Absolutely not, right? So again, there's this mythology that where you go to college matters, and it absolutely doesn't. In fact, Princeton University, we know Princeton, they did a study and they compared the average salaries of people who graduated from Ivy League schools versus people who got accepted to those schools, but they decided to attend lesser known colleges. You know what they found? No difference. So literally there is no correlation, zero correlation between the school you go to and how much money you'll make in life. So all this belief system that, the name on a piece of paper matters, it doesn't.
Wait, it's time for the Malik's First Job podcast. Let's get it.
Malik's First Job Podcast, here to answer any questions that y'all ask. Financial literacy and resources, parents and young people becoming bosses, CEOs, future leaders, entrepreneurs, conferences and boardrooms getting sponsors secured. If you want generational wealth, Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip with information to help. Malik's First Job Podcast, Malik's Podcast, Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip, Kerwin Phillip. Malik's First Job Podcast, Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip. Generational wealth.
All right, cool. Let me make sure my phone is on Do Not Disturb. All right, peace, everybody. How you doing? This is Kerwin Phillip. Again, here with another episode of Malik's First Job Podcast. And today I have a great guest that's going to speak to you about a whole lot dealing with college debt, and how to avoid it. I have Nash Warfield on today's show. Nash Warfield is a professional motivational speaker to high school and college students, as well as high school parent groups. He also conducts team building and leadership workshops for educational leaders, leadership teams, and support staff. Nash attended college on a full academic scholarship to Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland. Shameless plug.
Let's go.
Where he graduated number one in his business school class with a degree in marketing. He also received his master's degree in speech and interpersonal communication from NYU. His high energy and interactive presentations has reached over 750,000. Let me say that over. His high energy and interactive presentations have reached over 750,000 students since 1997. He's author of the book, Say Yes to College and Say No to College Debt. Right? So welcome today, Nash Warfield. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, Kay, man. It's good to be with you, man. Really appreciate you having me on.
Yes. I'm excited to have you here because I know a lot of people want to learn about how to avoid college debt. So Absolutely. Tell me about this book.
Yeah, so really, the genesis of the book, and I'll go back to when I started speaking back in after college, after we graduated from the illustrious Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland.
Yes.
No doubt. So I started actually working with a company where I would speak at high schools and give presentations to students. On obviously to like high school freshmen on the importance of doing well your freshman year, and how to start thinking about the college process as early as freshman year. We do programs for juniors on how to find the right college, how to select a college, obviously looking at financial aid, and then for seniors on how to be successful in college. And so literally was speaking across the country, crisscrossing the country, speaking to students, and what I started to find when after working with students for a long time, is that I would just hear all these horror stories of students who, went to college and then they would graduate, in massive, student loan debt, and it was really preventing them from, living their life that they want to live because they just had this tremendous burden, of debt, behind them, to basically end up, spend the next 20 years paying for something that they did for 4 years. And then I really started to, look at the industry, and I found that, it's a crisis that we have, in America. We're literally at this point, the most recent number is that's $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. It's almost $2 trillion in student loan. It's the largest personal debt in America. and it's just affecting, you know, students at so many levels, because it really limits your choices. So, you know, when you think about, you know, the let's say the woman who has, you know, a child, she's 28 years old, she has a child, she wants to stay at home with her kid, but she can't because she's got $80,000 in student loans that she's got to pay back. Or maybe like the young man who wants to do missionary work, you know, and serve, you know, serve God in a way that, you know, he feels is his mission to do, and he can't because he went to some private Christian college and he's got $150,000 in student loan debt, and he can't do that. So I said, you know what, you know, I would start speaking about it, but I really, obviously, you can only do so much when speaking because you can only really reach the people that you're in your audience. So I was like, you know, let me just write a book, and the book is really in two sections. One is Say Yes to College. So it's, hey, how do you get into college? What colleges you're looking for, the criteria, the importance of going to college, obviously. And then the second section really is saying no to college debt. So how can you make this choice to further education, which is extremely important, but how you can do it in a smart way and avoid, you know, this massive student loan debt that's out there.
Okay. So now you said that number $1.7 trillion, right?
Yeah.
Student loan debt that's out there.
Yeah, big number.
And there's a lot of conversation about student loan forgiveness that may possibly take place. So I think there's some numbers that recently came out that some folks had their student loans forgiven. Now, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that there'll be a blanket program that wipe out all the debt and have people start with a fresh slate? Or, you know, what are your thoughts on that?
The chances of that happening, Corinne, about the same chance of me and you hitting the lottery on the same day, bro. It's just not happening, man. Like, so many people, they put their hopes in government, and we've, you know, if you've been alive on this planet for more than 5 minutes, you know, anytime you put your faith in government, that's never a good idea. I mean, obviously there are some, you know, special circumstances, you know, people like if they went to, you know, those, they call them for-profit colleges that you see out there, and they got into, you know, a big student loan mess with that. Like some of those are being forgiven. You know, obviously, you know, if you're deemed like infirm in some way, you can't work anymore. Like, you know, those are forgiven. But for the general population, the 99% of people that have, you know, massive student loans just because, you know, they went to a big, you know, expensive private school, or they went to, you know, some out-of-state public school, no, those aren't getting forgiven. Like, you know, the government is not coming in on their white horse to save you from your foolishness. So that's just, I don't see that happening in any way. I really don't.
All right. So I guess, you know, jokingly, you just said it, you know, the government is not coming to save us from our foolishness, right? So, for parents and teens that want to pursue college, right?
Yeah.
They want to, you know, after high school, they want to get that degree, or, you know, matter of fact, let me first ask the question: Is a college degree still worth getting in this day and time?
Oh, I believe it is 100%. Because yes, there are fields that you can get into where, you know, a college degree is not necessary. Think about, you know, technology. And it's not even that a college degree is not necessary. Maybe a 4-year degree is necessary. So you can get a 2-year degree, you know, in technology, and then you'll just need to keep up with your certifications, you know, like cybersecurity, things like that. Feels like that they're changing all the time. You know, you get a 4-year degree, you know, the information is obsolete when you graduate in 4 years. So that's why, you know, getting certifications is very important. But for the whole, not just, you know, from a job standpoint, but just, you know, what you learn in college. I mean, just, you know, learning how to critically think, learning how to, you know, organize your time, learning, you know, obviously, you know, being in organizations and communication skills, the relationships that you make. I mean, look, we're on this podcast because, you know, we met in college, right? I mean, you know, we've been friends for, you know, almost 30 years now. It's crazy, dude.
Don't put a number to it.
It's insane.
Don't put a number to it.
Right. So, you know, so all that absolutely is still very important. You know, I don't, you know, there is a sect of people that can succeed, you know, without a college degree, but I think more often than not, for the general population, you still need further education to obviously increase your earning potential. You know, I mean, just literally the stats say that, you know, the average person with a college degree earns more than $1 million more over their lifetime than a person with just their high school diploma. So you're going to make more money when you have more education. So I definitely think that a college degree is still necessary for sure. And, you know, it's just about being smart about how you do it. That's the thing, you know, and that's really what the book focuses on.
Okay. Now, what about those individuals that feel that, okay, well, college isn't for me. I'd rather go and get a trade, like go to trade school.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
So I always say college is not for everybody. Education is for everybody. So the point is, post-second, something after high school is critical. So whether you go to 2-year school, 4-year school, trade school, career school, technical college, all that is fine. Dude, I wish, if I knew how to fix cars, as much money as I've given to my mechanic over the years, bruh, I'm saying a trade is huge, dude. Like, carpentry, auto mechanics, like those things will always be needed. So, HVAC, is a huge field. Heating and air. So anything like that, again, technology, diesel mechanics, whatever it is, like all those fields are always going to be in high demand. So yeah, so no question, I have no issue with people that that don't necessarily go to a traditional 4-year college, but like I said, educating yourself after high school, getting a skill and something that has usable return in the marketplace. That's the most important choice, more so than just quote unquote college.
Yeah. Now I love that quote you just said, that college is not for everyone, but education is.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's a bar right there.
There you go.
That's right.
That's right. That'll preach.
All right. So now in the book, you also mentioned about some of the, I guess, advantages versus disadvantages of a 4-year degree.
Sure.
Right. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So obviously, like we talked about, the advantages of a 4-year degree. The number one is, highest earning power. So you'll make the most money, average from an average standpoint with a 4-year degree. If you want to get into some more prestige careers, you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, a guidance counselor, you need at least a 4-year degree, to get into those fields. Get to get away from home, right? A lot of students who want to go to college, right? They want to go as far from their state as humanly possible. Obviously I'm from Jersey, you're from New York, and we both went to college in Maryland. But some people are like, look, I'm going to University of Alaska. Like I'm out. It's going as far as possible. And you can do that when you go to a 4-year school. You get to, there's all the social stuff, fraternities, sororities, big time sports programs. You kind of access all those things at a 4-year college. But again, you gotta know the disadvantages of those choices as well. Obviously, the first one is, college is very expensive. It can, some colleges you're looking at up to $225,000 for a 4-year education. You look at Vanderbilt, like $65,000 a year. It's insane, right? So because most parents haven't saved $65,000 a year or $250,000, we see like these student loans being taken out and really just crippling people's future. A lot of people don't realize that the average person, from a graduation rate standpoint, only half of the students who go to college actually graduate, right? So literally there's a 50% graduation rate when you go to college. So not everybody who goes, again, we know a lot of people that started at Morgan didn't finish it, right? Didn't make it, right? So we know a whole bunch of people like that.
Homecoming though.
That's right, exactly. So, and it actually takes the average person to graduate from a 4-year school 6.5 years. So if you're spending more time in college, you're also spending more money, right? So just people need to know, obviously with the good, there is the, a side you got to look at and look at all of that when you're making your decision about, about school, going to school after high school.
Right. So I know in the book, you also mentioned some tips, like for students that, I guess when they go into college visits, like what they should be looking for.
Yeah.
Like, can you speak on that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, obviously, of course, in this pandemic area, they're not doing as many college visits, but obviously we'll get back to, that soon. But even now they have virtual college tours that you can do. So the point is, if you're going to make this investment, because it is an investment, and that's why I think a lot of people don't think about it that way. They think of it, it's just, I'm spending money on, education. No, it's an investment. So you want a return on your investment. Just like, you talk about investing, for stocks or bonds, or that you want teenagers to get involved in. What if I'm putting this money out? What return am I getting back? So if you're going to spend your money there, invest your money there, you want to make sure, hey, what's the return? So one, am I going to feel comfortable, at this college? So when you go on a college visit, one, go when students are there, so you get to see, hey, what's the environment like? What's the just the energy of the school. We prefer that. You want to go, you try and visit a classroom. Because are you going to feel comfortable if you're coming from a small, maybe a small town where it was like, maybe 10, 15 students in your class, and then you go to a big state school and there's like 400 students in an auditorium, are you going to feel comfortable in that environment? So you need to go to a class and feel what that's like. Talk to students. Ask them, hey, what is it like to go here? What's been your experience? Go to the cafeteria, the lunchroom. Do all the things that the refectory. Right? But it was for the Morgan State people out there, the old refectory. But you just want to experience what that school is like. When you're there, talk to professors. Hey, that you're thinking for the major you're thinking about. So you can know, hey, is this a good fit for me? And I think that's an important, thing that some students they forget to do. They'll just go and they say, oh, it looks cool, the campus is pretty, and that's nice. But is this environment really the place where I'm going to be successful?
Now I know like sometimes Morgan has like the big, open house.
Mm-hmm.
Right, when they invite students to come, is that the best time to go, or should you go like outside of an open house? It's whichever one you can get to. So if they have the open house, hey, if that's all you can get to, go to that. But if you can do like a private tour, that certainly is beneficial as well. Like I said, the biggest thing is definitely go when students are on campus. I wouldn't recommend doing a college visit in the summertime because you're just not going to get enough of a feel for the campus is empty. So I think that whenever you go, just make sure it's when school's in session, and you can actually see, hey, what is it really going to be like, going to school on a daily basis. Okay.
Today is a great day to start your own podcast. Whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it would be fun to have your own talk show, podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google products, and more within minutes of finishing your recording. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and the team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Let's create something together. Follow the link in the show notes and let Buzzsprout know that we sent you, and that'll get you a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan and help support our show. Thank you very much, and let's be great podcasting together. Peace.
Great. All right. So now in the book you say, say no to college debt. And you mentioned earlier, parents that, kids that want that, college experience, they want to go to school, but they haven't saved the money to do so.
Right.
So how can they go about, they want to get into college?
Yeah. So to kind of back up a little bit. So I say this when I speak to, I do my presentations, I say, I don't think we have a student loan crisis. I think we have a parenting crisis. Because the reason why there's this massive student loan debt, I think, is because of what's called parent guilt. Okay. And parent guilt looks like this. So, so basically 17, 18 years ago, the parent, you had the child and, brought home this little bundle of joy from the hospital, all excited, and you knew this day was coming, right? It's not like you didn't know, that in 18 years, they're going to need to go to college. But for the last 18 years, what were they doing? They were being a parent. They were putting food on the table. They're putting clothes in their back. They're putting a roof over it. You're being a good parent. You're doing what a parent is supposed to do. Okay. Right. What they forgot to do was, or what they didn't do was put aside, start an ESA, savings plan when they were 2, or a 529 savings plan when they were 3 years old. They didn't do that because they were focused on being a parent. And so what happens is you go to these college fairs, because I've been going to college fairs for the last 20 years, right? And they all look the same. It's like a big auditorium, all these 60 colleges in the auditorium, and the kids all running around, for each table. They got their friends with them, and pick up the brochures. Oh my God, this course is awesome. Like, they're all excited, right? Like, I want to go here. And then you see the parents walking around behind them like, oh Lord, how in the world am I going to pay for this education, right? So, because, again, they just haven't saved money. And so what happens is these 17, 18-year-olds, they come to them with their big, brown eyes, like, Mom, I really want to go here. It's going to be an amazing experience. And, I've worked hard, and, I really want to go to this school. It's $50,000 a year. And I say, you basically say to your child the 5 most dangerous words any parent can say to their teenager. Okay, honey, whatever you want, right? And that turns into like 80,000 in student loans. It turns into 50,000 in parent loans, and just a nightmare because they're just like, well, whatever I got to do to, help my child, do this education thing, I'm going to do. I'm dipping into my retirement savings. I'm taking out second mortgages on my house. And it just leads to a ship to disaster. I mean, because basically there's nothing good that comes out of it. So the first thing I say is let go of your parent guilt. Okay. Because look, you have done a great job. They're healthy, they're alive, they're drug-free. Okay. Hopefully they made it to senior high school. So it's like, in the name of Jesus, I release you from any parent debt. Okay. That's number one. All right. So once you let go of that, it's like, what you got to realize is that, there's a word that you have to relearn as a parent. And that word is no. Okay. Because, so many times parents, they just forget this word. It becomes an ancient word. And teenagers, they're like, oh, it's whatever. It's like, no, I'm not going to let you, go $100,000 in debt for a college we can't afford. Or I'm not going to co-sign a student loan for you. Because if you co-sign, forget about it. That's basically, you're going to end up paying the loan back for them. And then you get mad. You're not talking to your kid. They're not coming home for Thanksgiving because he messed up the credit. It's a disaster. So never co-sign a loan. Don't go borrow on your retirement savings, because I say to parents, I'm like, look, like I said, there's a 50% chance your child will graduate from college. There's a 100% chance you're going to retire. So you better make sure that money is there, when you retire, so that you're good and you can live, comfortably in retirement. So don't mess up your retirement. Don't take out second mortgages on your home. Like, don't put your home at risk for your child's education. So it's just so the way to think about it, I say, is literally think of it like, I call it, covered wagon college planning. Okay. Covered wagon college planning. So here's the analogy. So in the 1800s, when people want to get from one place to the other, how they do it? They took a horse and carriage, right? So, it's like go west, right? So they load up the horse and carriage and they go across country. So the question is, well, why didn't they take an airplane? And the answer is pretty obvious, because airplanes didn't exist, right? So there was no such thing as an airplane. So that was the only way they had to get across country. Right. So the way I say to think about college is, what if student loans did not exist? If there was no such thing as a student loan, if there was no such thing as a parent loan, how would we go to college? And how would we pay for college? And if you use that as your baseline, your starting point, you say, all right, look, loan debt is off the table. Now let's figure out how we're going to pay for school. So what are you going to do? You're going to do 3 things. Number one, you're going to pick a college you can afford, right? And so that means, for the kid who's in New Jersey or New York or Georgia, or whatever it may be, that might be the in-state public school. Like I was fortunate. I got a full academic scholarship to Morgan State. My mom told me when I was a freshman, she's like, if you don't get a full scholarship to college, you're going to local community college. Like that was it. Cause she didn't have money. She was a single parent raising me and my brother. She hadn't saved money. So, I was fortunate. I took care of my grades and, my SAT scores in high school. So I got a full academic scholarship to Morgan. But if I hadn't, I would have stayed in state. I would have gone to a local state school, because a local state school, it's literally, sometimes half or 60% less than a private college. And there's all this mythology, Cohen, like around where you go matters. And it doesn't. Because, an example I use is if you look at 2 colleges, just an example in New Jersey, right here in New Jersey. So you have a Kane University, which is in Union, New Jersey, and you have Rider College, which is in Trenton. So Kane is an in-state public school. Rider is a private school in Trenton. So let's say we want to get a bachelor's degree in marketing. What was your major again?
My accounting.
Accounting. All right. So we were both in a business school, right? So let's say we want to get a bachelor's degree in accounting. Let's use your example, right? So we get a bachelor's degree in accounting. If you get a bachelor's degree in accounting from Kane, the tuition is $12,000 a year and $48,000 over 4 years. Not terrible, right? You get that exact same bachelor's degree in accounting from Rider, it's $44,000 a year or $176,000 over 4 years. So, Kerwin, do you honestly believe that a bachelor's degree in accounting from Rider is 4 times better than a bachelor's degree in accounting from Kane?
No, accounting is accounting.
Accounting, right? Like LIFO, FIFO, right? All the principles are the same, right? Do you really think you're going to make 4 times as much money with a degree from Rider than a degree from Kane?
Right.
Absolutely not, right? So again, there's this mythology that where you go to college matters, and it absolutely doesn't. In fact, Princeton University, we know Princeton, they did a study and they compared the average salaries of people who graduated from Ivy League schools versus people who got accepted to those schools, but they decided to attend lesser known colleges. You know what they found? No difference. So literally there is no correlation, zero correlation between the school you go to and how much money you'll make in life. So all this belief system that, the name on a piece of paper matters, it doesn't. And I've worked with recruiters, for the last 25 years. They don't care. Like if you got the education, you got the skills, you got the recommendations from your professor, that's the most important thing, not the name on a piece of paper. I mean, it's literally less than 1% of jobs where you can say that there is data that says, okay, if I got for a degree from this college, it's going to matter. In fact, again, we're in business. They looked at the top Fortune 500 CEOs. Okay. So these are people that make the most money in the world, $20-30 million a year, right? 80% of them, Kerwin, 80% of the Fortune 500 CEOs went to public in-state schools for undergrad.
Wow.
80%, right? Now, maybe some of them, went to, maybe a private college for grad school, but in terms of undergrad, 80% went to in-state public schools. So again, there's zero correlation between where you go and how much money you'll make. So that's the first thing is saying, hey, look, we're going to choose a college that you can afford. That's the number one choice that parents have to make. And be like, look, if that means we're staying in state, we're staying in state. Even forget private schools, just to go out of state, just to cross state lines, you're talking about 3 times as much for tuition.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, if I can stay in state and pay 12, why am I going to, just go across state line and pay 35? Again, it's about return on investment. And that's what parents have to think about. You got to justify why it makes sense. Now, so the second thing, so that's the first one is choose a college you can afford. The second one is apply for 1,000 scholarships, like literally 1,000 scholarships, right? So, it's like apply for everything. Cause you'll know this. You remember when we were at Morgan, most of our friends who couldn't come back second year was not because of their grades. Why was it? They didn't have the money.
Afford to come back.
Right? They'd be like, Kerwin Nash, I gotta work. I'll come back. I'll make it happen. How many of them made it back? Almost none of them, right? So the more work that high school students do on the front end of applying for as many scholarships as possible, it's a numbers game. So you apply for 1,000, you might get 30, but those 30 will completely pay for your school. And so I don't care what it is, 500 here, 1,000 here, every little bit adds up. Local organizations, the Elks, the Deltas, the AK, just apply for everything. But what from working with guidance counselors, what they tell me is these seniors are lazy. They don't want to write essays. I'm like, write essays till your fingers fall off, because every little bit. I mean, it's like your second semester of your senior year. All you should be doing is applying for as many scholarships as possible. Like that's like all you should be doing. That's your part-time job, because that will have a great return on that investment. So that's first thing. So go to college you can afford. Second thing is apply for 1,000 scholarships, and the third one is you can work. Okay, it is not child abuse. What? Exactly, right? You can have a job in college, bro. It is not child abuse for your child to work in college, right? I mean, because there's so many things they can do now. That's right. Employee of the month at McDonald's, bro. Now on the fries. That's when the big bucks starts rolling. That's it, man, for sure. But yeah, for real, man. It's like, I had a full scholarship, but there was stuff that my scholarship didn't cover. So I worked at Taco Bell. You remember the Taco Bell on Lock Raven? I worked at Taco Bell. I'm like, Burrito Supremes, Taco Supremes, right? Just for, remember we had to get phone cards, and we had to for long distance. So I had to buy my phone cards, laundry, food, like all stuff that your scholarships cover. But, you get a part-time job, $10 an hour, part-time, 20 hours a week. That's like $10,000 a year. So that sounds like an in-state public tuition to me. So again, don't tell me that, I had to go 30, 50, 70, $100,000 in student loan debt. No, it was a choice, right? Absolutely a choice. So between those three things, choosing the right college, or college they can afford, just like you wouldn't go in a car lot and buy a $150,000 car you can't afford, right? Don't, but for some reason in this country, it's like, it's the ultimate oxymoron. We're stupid about education in this country, right? We're actually dumb about education in this country, because we think that, I got to go to a certain college, and it's just not the case. It's just not the case.
Yeah.
So just take them off the table, act like they don't exist. And, how do we go about paying for college? That's the key.
All right.
Malik's First Job, Financial Principles for Teens, is an excellent resource to get your children started on understanding the basics of financial literacy. This book, which is set in Brownsville, Brooklyn, about a young man who gets his first job and then shortly thereafter sits down with his dad to learn how to manage his money. There are several topics that are covered within this work, such as paying yourself first, disciplining your spending, knowing the difference between an asset and a liability, creating multiple sources of income, as well as the importance of being charitable. So again, if you want to get your children started on understanding finance and becoming responsible adults, we highly recommend that you purchase the book, Malik's First Job, Financial Principles for Teens. So please visit maliksfirstjob.com to get more information. Peace.
So what's your advice? Okay, so let's say the parent that, okay, they spent the money, they got the loans, the student loans, the Parent Plus loans.
Yeah.
Now, well, what options do they have at this point?
Well, you know, I mean, it's like once you dug the hole, you're in the hole, right? And so it's like once you come out of so if you're still in college, the first thing is, okay, how do I get out with no more debt? So it's like, okay, how do I do no more harm? You know, so it's like, all right, if you're already there, it's like, all right, let's just cut off here and let's figure out how we're going to finish without debt. But if you're already, you know, have the loans you graduated, clearly it's just about how do I pay these things off as fast as possible. So that's living at home. That's not going out, you know, buying the fly whip. That's not, you know, that's like no buying no fancy stuff. It's like everything you get from your job. Hopefully you have a good, decent paying job that you're making money, and just like throw all the money at the loan and get out as fast as possible. Like, you know, that should be like DEFCON 1 priority, just getting out of debt as fast as possible. And one of the great books I do recommend for that is a book called The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. So, you know, I'm a huge Dave Ramsey fan. I believe that he kind of, you know, wrote the blueprint on getting out of debt. So that's the one I really, you know, encourage. That's when I encourage like families to read, you know, just about just money management overall, you know, staying away from credit cards, staying away from car loans, staying away from obviously student loans. But once you're there, hey, how do I get out of debt as fast as possible? So that's just, you know, and just make it your first priority, because, you know, again, it's like the debt, what it does is it reduces your choices, it reduces your options. And when you don't have debt, man, it just, you know, and that's what you talk about, you know, in your book, you know, it just frees you up, you know, to be able to invest and let that money work for you and compound interest, you know, the eighth wonder of the world, right? And letting that, and that time, dude, it's like, you know, if if somebody told us like what we know now when we were like 18 years old, bro, it's like we chilling. $100 a month, it doesn't take a lot. $100 a month, and in, you know, in 20 years you're a millionaire, right? It's just like there's no excuse, but it's just, again, the knowledge isn't there. We're not getting the knowledge for sure. But yeah, it doesn't take a lot. It's just, but the less debt you have, you can now start to, you know, throw that money at investments and really make your money work for you. So I would say, if you already got it, get out as fast as possible. Don't think this, you know, don't let it hang around for, you know, 10, 15, 20 years, you know, where it's just basically like an anchor on your back. And you see on the front of my book is a ball and chain, right? Because that's what it is. It's this ball, that it's this chain that is attached to you that, you know, that people just can't, they're dragging around for so much of their life. And it's you know, and it's stunting our development. You got people, they're not moving out, they're staying home longer. So it's you know, stunting their ability to be an adult. They're not getting married, they're not having kids. Like all of these things, like all the stats show that, you know, people are having less kids and they're staying home longer. And, you know, it's like, you know, that failure to launch. So you have this generation of adults not being produced because they're like saddled with the student loan debt, and it's got to stop. And, you know, really, and honestly, you know, I say that's why I go back to government. I say don't trust the government. It's the government. It's part of the government's fault in this thing too. Because think about it. This is what the government said. A bunch of legislators got together and said, okay, here's a good idea. Let's give $100,000 to a 17-year-old with no job and no collateral. Let's see how that works out. I mean, seriously, right? It's just, I mean, and so that was dumb for the whole federal loan program to, you know, to exist in the first place. And the reason why college tuition keeps going up every year is because they know kids can just take out more debt, right? So it's like, well, we don't have to, you know, lower our tuition because kids will just take out more loans. So we'll just keep raising tuition. So if the loan program went away, then it would just cause a cascade for everything, where it's like people wouldn't borrow, the tuitions would come down, you know, and we could actually, you know, live decent lives in society. So, you know, it's multi-layers, but in terms of the things you can control as a parent, as a student, is about, again, the choices that you make when, you know, in making that choice to go to college in the first place.
Yeah. So, again, the author of the book, Say Yes to College, Say No to College Debt. You know, if you want more information, this is a must-read for parents and teens that's getting ready for that next level to go into the college, going to college. Now, for people that are interested in getting this book, where can they find it?
So actually, when I published the book in 2019, it became an Amazon #1 bestseller. So it really caught some traction. So Amazon is obviously a place to go. Just put in Nash Warfield, my name, and you'll see it come right up. Buy it on Amazon. It's, you can buy a Kindle version or a paperback version, and it's a quick read. It's not a long read. It's like about maybe 75 pages. Because what it is, it's like frequently asked questions. So it's all the questions that I've gotten from parents and students over the last 25 years of speaking, and I just kind of put the cue. Here's the question, and then the answer. So it's a very easy read. Read it as a family. Sit down with your child and discuss it. That's the most important thing. It's got to be a joint effort. It's got to be between the parents and the child. It can't be just the parents. Oh, this is what you're going to do, or this is what you're not. No, it's like it's a joint effort. And the more you're working as a unit, then you can all right, let's tackle this thing together. And so like I said, so parents, so I said this: the cure for parent guilt is to buy a backbone. Right. So go to Home Depot, or Walmart. They got them on sale. Get a backbone, put that backbone in, but no. No, because a lot of people think, oh, Nash is tough love. You're telling no to your child. It's not tough love. It's love, right? Think about it. So, Curran, was it tough love when you told your 4-year-old don't run out in the middle of traffic? No, right? Was it tough love when you told your 2-year-old don't touch a hot stove, right? Because they're going to burn themselves? No, you were protecting them from harm. Right? That's what your job as a parent is. And student loans harm them. So you have to protect them from themselves. Because when we were 17, 18, we thought we knew everything. You couldn't tell us nothing, right? And so we know kids still, their brains are not fully developed yet. Okay. So they might think they know everything. They don't know jack. And so you, the parents, say, look, I'm not gonna let this happen, so no, I'm not gonna let you harm yourself. I'm not, because I love you. I'm not gonna let you harm yourself. And just because again their bodies develop doesn't mean their minds develop. They look like adults, but they still need to be parented. So hopefully what the book does, it just creates that conversation. Say, hey, look, let's be smart about how we do this. The number one thing you can do is come out of college debt free. Like your 35-year-old self will thank you so much, to your 18-year-old self, because you stayed away from debt. It literally is one of the best choices you can make.
Right. So people that want to get in contact with you and have questions.
Yeah.
How can they find you?
So I actually have a college planning program service I offer. Zero Debt College Planners is the name of the company. So you can send me an email, nash@zerodebtcollegeplanners.com. So nash@zerodebtcollegeplanners.com. I say come up, on scroll there. Appreciate that. Just send me an email. And we'll talk about what your goals are. What you can do. Obviously, if there are any teachers or counselors listening, I would love to be able to come and speak to your students, to give the presentation that I give, to students on how to make this happen. And it's my passion, man. This is what I love to do. Just like, it's your passion to get the information out there. And it's such a great synergy, to get kids thinking about, again, financial principles very early. And one of the great financial principles, again, because, think about it, after their house, college is really the thing they're going to spend the most money on. So they got to be smart about, how they do that. So, so they can buy a house earlier, right? So they can do all the things that, they need to be able to do if they're not saddled with this massive debt, that opens them up to invest, to buy a home and things that actually appreciate in assets versus go the other way.
Right. But Nashad, thank you for coming through. Appreciate it.
MFU represent, baby.
Yes, sir. We share a wealth of information. I'm sure that parents will find value in, and it's going to save them a lot of money and a lot of heartache. Right?
Absolutely.
So again, just follow Nashad online, Nash online, Nash Warfield, right, on IG, and check the book out again on Amazon, right?
Yes, indeed.
Say yes to college. Say no to college debt.
Yeah, and Cayman, I appreciate everything you're doing, man. Like I said, it's a great work you're doing. I look forward to us doing a lot of good stuff together.
Oh yeah.
It's just natural synergies, man. So let's go change the world, bro.
No doubt. All right, y'all have a good night. Y'all take care. Peace.
Deuces.
Malik's First Job Podcast. Brooklyn's own Curran Phillip. Generational wealth.